How would you define rich? Considering people like Twali, they've come out and they've said, you know what, this guy is poor even to be the president.
I think Twali cannot say that.
Yes.
Because I think I'm richer than Twali. He's trying to bribe me to do something bad. I told him no, and that's the last time I've spoken to him. So if I can reject 6 million and he thinks 6 million is enough, who is richer?
You are?
I'm richer than Twali. Who said that I want to buy votes? I'm not going to buy votes. I want to convince Kenyans that we can do this thing in a different way. I don't need a tribal block.
No,
I just need clarity of mind. I need an agenda that I can give Kenyans to either buy or reject. Mm-hmm. But agenda I must give them. If they get convinced, well and good. If they don't get convinced, I have won my race. I've run my race the best I've done. I've kept my faith. I've not lost my section of the race.
Do you ever go through threats? Do you ever get threatened? Are you ever told, Omtatah, please stop talking?
They come in various forms and shapes. Mm-hmm. As we speak, if you are keen, you'll see my teeth. I've got fake teeth in my mouth. Mm-hmm. And nilipewa kichapo cha umbwa. Wanaita kichapo cha umbwa. Mm-hmm. So I don't have 10 teeth here. They messed up my skull here and there. And because I'm alive, the struggle continues. Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of LNS. My name is Lynn Ngugi and I am so happy that I get to host our guest today. You guys, you've waited for him for a long time and now the opportunity is here just to get to hear from him, learn and relearn from him. And I always appreciate your feedback, and you know what to do. You can always leave it on the comment section and tell me by the end of the show what your take home will be from this conversation. But before I do that, you guys have gotten us to almost 1.2 million subscribers. I love this age that we are in. I love that we can be able to have these thought-provoking conversations together. So I thank you for being active participants of our work. And of course, to say also a huge shout out or a huge thank you to my team who gets to put this work together. I have always said you get to see me in front of the camera, but it takes an entire team to be able to put this together. And of course, now without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce himself. Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Uko salama?
Niko.
Uko?
Mtashukuru.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for making time to be with us here. But maybe everyone that is tuning in and they would love to hear you introduce yourself. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Okiya Omtatah Andrew. Currently, I'm the senator elected by the people of Busia to represent them in the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Yes.
Good. It's good to have you here. And also, I'm watching one interview that you did a couple of years back, right? And I see you at JKL. And you said you had witnessed one occasion where President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto was being given the sword and the constitution, but apparently he lifted the sword up, not the constitution. And you said, I hope this is not symbolic. What do you think now?
Well, unfortunately, it became symbolic because President Ruto is ruling by the sword and not by the constitution. Mm-hmm. He has chosen a small part of the constitution to go by and left the entire book, which if he had implemented it, he would just be having a very nice time in State House. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what do you think went wrong in between?
I think just his attitude. Because from the very day, I think the concept of a sovereign people has not sunk in many people. They still think they are running the neo-colonial state, which was basically to oppress and extract from the people. This is a state whereby they could put a chief in every village, and they could not put a school or a hospital in every village. Their aim was to dominate, oppress, and exploit. So it's the same state that Ruto is trying to lead, which is a state that Kenyans have been trying to fight all along, from the Makatilili Wamensa, to the Harry Tukos, to Otenyo in Kisii land, Elijah Masinde, the Mau Mau, all those Kenyan voices that have tried to say a better way is possible. And there have been very, very many voices. And it's written in blood and tears. This particular constitution is written in blood and tears, just like the liberation people we got. So President Ruto still believes in being a king, being the monarch, sort of, and the monarch goes with the trappings of power, a lot of display of, how do you call them? Pageantry and stuff, all those things that really mean nothing in the present world. So it's unfortunate that we are stuck there. And so when I was looking at it, I tend to read symbols. So when I saw him excited at having the sword and not having the constitution, I said, hapa kuna shida, kimeumana. So, and you can see when the rubber met the road, we sort of stuck. And it's unfortunate that President Uhuru was not keen on implementing the constitution. President Kibaki has worked for the constitution, but as you know, it was much whittled down, or sort of. But the little that remained, he managed to pass it, but he also did not have a deliberate intention to implement it. So that's the problem we've had, that we have this big machine, big truck, like an earth mover, sort of. But somehow we have refused just to put air in the wheels, so the earth mover can't move. Yeah, so that's what we have. So we need to implement the constitution fully and benefit from the potential it promises. Like you look at these things we're having about public debt, we are not implementing it. The things are going haywire. The other day in the Senate, again you look around, it's a majoritarian institution. A motion was moved by Senator Lademo Lekina on pending bills. And a cardinal mistake is again made, whereby pending bills are then said that have to be the first charge on the revenue fund of counties, that because they are debt. But then you go to the constitution, yes, Article 214 says public debt is a first charge on the consolidated fund. But then it goes on part 2, 14.2, goes on to say that public debt is loans or guarantees of loans. So it's not any debt that the public has. So you cannot go to a restaurant and eat, or you take MCS into a restaurant, they stay there and you don't pay the restaurant, then you turn that into a public debt. You're creating chaos. So the Senate passes that it has to be anytime in every budget pending bill should be the first charge on the county revenue fund. Then you see the room for corruption comes in, the failure to appreciate the constitution is coming in, yet the constitution says the only thing that can qualify for public debt is a loan or a guarantee for a loan, not any other pending expenditure. Now, for like take Nairobi, I've got about 107 billion pending bills. My own county of Busia is about 2 billion. So when you say that these things become a first charge on the county revenue fund, which is the equivalent of the consolidated fund at the national level, then you find there's room for very huge corruption, where people will go and create funny expenditure or fraudulent expenditure, and then wait for the new year. They say it's like an automatic charge. It is not interrogated, it's not whatever. But if you were to look at the process through which a good loan goes through, you'll find that first of all it will have to be in the budget, it will have to be approved by the assembly, and therefore it will be above board. So if it comes, and then it will be used for development, capital development. So that way we look at it and you see that understanding of this document is a very big problem. You even encounter it in the judiciary. You find judges have not taken their time to internalize this truth. And when they make the rulings, especially the older judges, you just cry for this country. So you wonder that why didn't the committee of experts stay on and maybe do some civic education for the various sectors of society? Right now we have again seen another thing that is happening with ISPAC has been pushing and have finally succeeded to move from cash accounting
To
to accrual accounting. But then you go to the Constitution and you say that every year we implement a law. We implement an act of Parliament or an act of the County Assembly called the Appropriation Act. So how do you accrue from one act to another? You see, we are given cash. The taxpayer pays cash. There's public participation. The budget is passed. Why should we be accruing? Why should anything be remaining? So we are creating loopholes for stealing public money and covering it up by carrying it on to the next budget. There should be no reason why a budget should not be balanced and dealt with. People have paid taxes, and that should be paid. And closed. So a lot of these things come into these beautiful things, and we're keeping on undermining this constitution by not taking time to understand it. So the case of the Senate is a very good case of very good intention by Senator Ladema Lekina, but not informed, not understanding what a public debt is. So you're going to say that every expenditure of the governor or the county assembly is public debt, then we end up in chaos.
Yeah, we end up in chaos.
Total chaos by just not understanding the phraseology. Yeah, so we need to take time, and we need a government that can focus on implementing this constitution and letting people understand the nuances in it. When you go to like Article 225, you clearly find that the Treasury and the Ministry of Finance are two different institutions. But in the Public Finance Management Act, they have fused them. Again, back into the old order. Now, when you fuse them, the president becomes the boss. He appoints the Minister for Finance. He appoints the PS for Finance. They control the Treasury. Therefore, the president has got direct access to the public funds. Yet, the subheading of the area is protection of public funds. By separating them, the anticipation was that the Treasury would be an independent institution with the national treasurer, a professional, and once money goes there, it is locked up. And then to get it out, you'd need an appropriation by Parliament and an approval by the controller of budget.
To access.
Yes, so a president cannot go to Kiambu, then people tell him the bridge here is broken, and he stands up and says, where's the PS? Can you get 200 million to fix that bridge? He will have to wait for Parliament to put in the budget. Or he will say, I'm going to ask Parliament to make a supplementary budget to address this issue. But not to speak like he's spending his own money.
Yeah, so this whole conversation on I will allocate 100 million here, 200 million here, 500 million here, that's a lie?
It's not, it's wrong. Because there's a budget that Parliament has done. Are those things in the budget? They are not. You see. So if the president is going to have his own, is going to override the budget by Parliament, what are we doing? But the whole reason is that he controls the Treasury. Even giving money to counties. You hear the president saying, I've given money to counties. It's not supposed to be like that. The national treasurer should be able to give money to the national government and the county governments at the same time. And if there's a shortage, then he sees how to balance. It's not that the national government should have its fill before the counties get. But because the president is owning the treasury like it's a small piggy bank, he can just put his hand in and say what he says what needs to be done. Then the budget that Parliament makes is just for PR. You see. So these are the small things that we need to look at to fix this country, so that a president should never be able to say that I will do this, unless a special fund has been given to him for certain situations. He should not be able to go into the treasury and order the PS and whatever. The only cure is to run the treasury the way we run the central bank. And that's what the constitution anticipated. The minister doing policy and the politics, the treasurer handling the money professionally. So it must be run by a professional. So those are the small interventions that must happen. When we talk of implementing the constitution, these are the things we need to do to make sure that the money is separated. When you go back into the constitution, Article 201, I think is clause C, it says that the use of resources should be used in a balanced manner so that the benefits and risks or whatever are shared between the future and the present. It anticipates a sovereign wealth fund, whereby at least in every budget we should be saving money you need to have sovereign wealth fund. The mineral base that we have in this country should be feeding into the sovereign wealth fund, so that down the line you can build up the kind of capital that maybe we can make as even lenders. We can begin lending even to
other nations.
The triple money markets. Yeah.
But now this is just PR.
It's just PR. There's nothing happening because we have not taken time to implement the constitution. So if you want to fix Kenya, implement the constitution 100%, get the institutions properly put in place, and then we'll begin moving. We cannot just say that we are picking this and say we want to do this. Now look at the so-called NADCO process. They are saying open up the constitution, amend this, give a job to so and so, give a job to he. They all aren't nonsense. We're just destroying this country. And this constitution is written in blood and tears. People died. People cried to get this thing. So we must get to a dispensation where we say, okay, let us get the foundation right. Once we get the foundation, then the destination. The foundation is the constitution. The destination is defined in the national anthem. When you listen to our national anthem,
Yes.
when you sing it today, when I sing my national anthem of Kenya, I don't see the country. It's like I'm singing the national anthem of some utopian state, you see. But if we build, if we get the foundation as the constitution to be the foundation, and then the national anthem be the destination, there's nothing that holds this country back. We shall begin competing with America and any other country.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Come to universal health care. Everybody's yapping around universal health care, universal health care. How do you have universal health care with a broken down public health care system?
Come on now.
You can't.
You can't.
You must fix the hospitals. The public hospitals must be top notch across the country. Then now you use them to provide health care, then you can cover people. Using private hospitals which are there for profit, you can't manage it. So, and then universal health care is even conceptualized in things like the Abuja Declaration, where they said 15% of the budget should go to health care. If you look at any country that has run successful health care, it's not on premiums. Where they're trying to charge through share shift that you pay 2.75%. No, it is taken from the main taxes. You go to a country like Thailand, which is one of the third world countries with the best universal health care system, which has just been put up a few years ago. VAT, a percentage of all VAT, goes directly to health. To finance health, the hospitals are fixed. So you walk into a public hospital, you have no need to go to look for a private hospital. So when you begin talking about these concepts, yes, it's an attractive word. It's good to talk of universal health care. But what are the ingredients of universal health care? It's not taxing the population separately, like you pay premiums and whatever. No. It is it's making sure that the public health system is top notch. And then the government, because it's employing the doctors, it's providing medicines and whatever, and it has control of their stores, everything will work well. Then you'll find, those who want maybe to go to private can be just an option.
Yes.
But the bulk of the staff will be in the hospital systems. The NHS in London, in Europe, in the UK, one of the successful universal healthcare systems, does not run on private hospitals. But today, if you want quality medical care, you must go to a private hospital.
So how do we arrive at all these decisions? Because then there's obviously no public participation. They say there's public participation, but there's no public participation. I think you've seen what's happening now with the livestock, the vaccine that the president says will be rolled out in January of 2025. I ran a poll and I asked, please, can someone tell me if they've witnessed public participation on this livestock vaccine? Out of almost the people who follow me, there is absolutely no one who understands what this livestock vaccine is, the public participation that has been done. So how do we arrive at all these decisions?
I think the problem we have with President Ruto is that he has a complex of sorts, that he gets overly excited by what sounds like a new idea. It's like a baby, you give a toy he has not seen, and then they just forget the food and they just go for the toy like that's the universe.
They're like a buju buju.
Yeah. He looks at it like that's the universe.
Yeah.
So he thinks that he's being smart. He's not being smart. Who is doing it elsewhere? You know, you cannot offer yourself to be a guinea pig. You see. He's offering Kenya to be a guinea pig.
Serving whose interest?
I don't know. And the thing is that it's the people who are sovereign, not the president. It's the people who are sovereign. And he has to do the will of the people. We don't do his will. So this thing of saying that it's going to vaccinate livestock is going to be resisted. Yeah. We'll mobilize the farmers to say anybody come and try and vaccinate my animal, you'll face it. Because you cannot go. First of all, we do not have the capacity to gauge what these vaccines are. We don't know what the input of Kevavapi, our vaccine thing there. I don't know what the Kevavapi input is. And what all these theories about Gauss doing what, doing the other thing. Well, maybe you should begin by vaccinating hyenas. Before before he comes to vaccinate.
And see the results.
Yes, because the hyenas are very versatile. They can digest very heavy stuff.
thing.
Yeah, they are very versatile animals. So we don't want this confusion of turning a country into a laboratory. You know, so he wants to experiment in so many things on us. If all this experiment is carrying out on the Republic, he should not reduce the Republic to a laboratory. Kenya is not a laboratory. Kenya is a country that has got living people. Yeah.
But can I ask what's your why? I've followed you for a long, long time. I think even the people who are watching, when they see you, you know, in chains, they see you fighting for this nation, they see you sometimes really upset about what's going on. Can I ask what's your why? Why? Where did all this come from? Your need to want to fight for a better country?
Well, first of all, I do it without anger. Even if I may feel like I'm furious or whatever, inside I'm full of harmony and peace.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't, and it's not personalized. Yeah, much even like right now, I'm hitting Ruto, but if he just does the right thing,
you'll be okay.
I'll be on the front line to say Ruto Tosha.
Wow.
Yeah, if he does the right thing.
Yes.
But if he does the wrong thing, we are not going to agree. Well, my background, the sense of right and wrong, was infused in me quite some time back, and also the question of possibilities. I was born in a family of 8 girls, and we are 4 brothers, so it's a family of 12. And I came in number 5. I've got 4 sisters ahead of me.
Yeah.
And you know, in the traditional setting, they used to have this belief that if you don't have a son, there'll be this pressure and whatever. So sometimes my mother tells me the pressure she was under with my father, that maybe they should do some rituals or do whatever to get a child. And my grandfather being a devout Catholic, my father too, refused the pressure from the clan that they should do something. And one time when I was born, my grandfather would tell me, can you imagine how much I would owe these charlatans if I had accepted to
do the ritual.
To do the rituals? They would say that and how much they would own you.
Yes.
So he used to tell me, believe in a free, try to free yourself from everything. And so as a result of my being a boy, then again followed by another girl, my grandparents took a lot of interest in me. And remember, even so I ended up to grow more with my grandparents than my parents.
Yeah.
And also because my parents were teachers, they were very strict, so there was a safety net around my grandparents. And then my grandfather was not a heavy, he was a man who says, he took my father to school, and then my father would come home and teach him how to read and write.
Okay.
So that's how it worked.
Yeah.
But he was a very outgoing peasant farmer, and I think what he did was very successful, that in the 60s, in a remote village in Busia, he was able to import a tractor from the UK. So we had that. So, and because he had this tractor and whatever, and I had that liking for the machines and all these things, so I moved more towards my grandfather than towards my father.
Yeah.
And my grandfather had very, very interesting world views. So sometimes he would tell me about changing the world, and he would say, you know, you don't need to do big things to change the world. If you're walking on a road, even if you're wearing shoes whose soles are made of steel or stone, and you find a thorn, and you pick that thorn and destroy it and throw it away, you make the road safe, and therefore you change the world for those who don't have shoes.
Wow.
So he used to tell me those kind of things, and but then he also said, if you don't pick that thorn and throw it away, if somebody comes and injures himself on that thorn, and you had seen it,
It's on you.
it is you who has caused the problem. You have a duty. You have a duty of care to your fellow human beings. So the concept of a duty of care for others has come in, and then of course when you go to the Bible stories, you say, Cain, where's your brother? Your brother's keeper. All these things keep on coming up. And so you go in, you come to the Lord's Prayer, you're told, give us our daily bread and stuff like that. So you ask yourself, in this construct, how do I participate? Then you go to the book of Matthew, and you find the preaching of Jesus saying that, since the Sermon on the Mount, I think he says that he talks stuff like, on the last day, you will not be judged by how many prayers you prayed or how many whatever. But it says, when I was hungry, you came to, you gave me food. I was naked, you dressed me.
Dressed me.
I was in prison, you visited me. I was in hospital, you attended to me. So when I do these things, I try to get good governance. I also try to live my apostolate, that if you use public funds well, and they go to a hospital, and people are sick, get medication, then you are basically living that sermon of Christ.
Yes.
If that money goes to education, it goes to do roads, it goes to whatever. If you can help build a good society, then you are basically living that. Then the other thing, the question of the law, when I now began reading and whatever, I realized that in the book of Genesis, paradise is lost because the law is disobeyed. God gives man and woman the power to govern all that had been created, but doesn't give them power to be their own lords. He tells them, you'll obey the law. When they break the law, consequences are there. So then you ask yourself, why didn't Adam and Eve not just say no to the devil? We'd still be in paradise. Then you come to the Exodus.
Yes.
The book of Exodus. Then you find that when the Jews were wandering around in the desert, again God gives them the law, the 10 Commandments. And so you can see the central role that the law plays in society. So when you come to the modern world, we also have the law and fidelity to the law is what works for human beings. We are not designed to survive under any other circumstance but to obey the law. So we have the law and we must obey that law. We must implement that law. Outside the law, there's nothing for us. But within the law, there's everything we want. So if we can subject ourselves to the law, you will not have corruption. Corruption is theft by servant. If you go down to the law, you will not have this distorted, these issues about tribalism, about regionalism, and all these isms. The law is clear. So you'll find yourself to be liberated. So I've got that strong belief in the law. And then I've got that strong belief that I have a duty to care for my brother. I'm not just there. I have a duty to care. If I don't pick that thorn that my grandfather told me, and somebody steps on that thorn and gets injured, I am responsible. Yeah. That's what keeps me going.
That's your why.
Yeah.
And
It's as simple as that.
has there been moments where you felt like this is such a big burden, too heavy burden for me to bear? Has there been moments where you found yourself in circumstances and you're like, enye acha hii mimi nitoke, unajua hii si lazima?
Well, one thing I realize is that I'm mortal. I have a lifespan. I'm living on a planet I'm told has been here for billions of years.
Yes.
I might just be here for a few, not even for 100 years.
Yeah.
So I'm really insignificant to begin with. So you cannot make yourself the solution. You cannot make yourself the Messiah. But what is important is that we have been given stages. I always use the analogy of a relay. You see these people running the relays.
Yes.
There comes a time you have got your section when you are given the baton. Your duty is to win your section. Wow. Not to win the race.
Wow.
Is to win your section, not to win the race.
Yes.
Because the other guy may have fumbled and may lost something. So it's up to you to gain and win at this stage so that the next fellow begins off at an advantage.
Wow.
So I don't get frustrated because I know I can win my section.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't care whether the country at the end of the day, whether the other guy will drop the baton or not, but my section I must win. So I cannot get frustrated. I'm not looking to be the Messiah. I don't have the capacity, but I can
win.
I can make my own section clean. Wow. Like when I wake up and the first thing I do is to make my bed. I've made the world a good place. Because there's a clean bed. I clean my room.
Yes.
When I eat and I wash the dishes, I've made my...
You have won in your part.
Yeah, I've won in my part. In my office, we have got a kitchen where we eat. When I go to the kitchen and I find the dishes there, I wash them. I don't say, where is the guy, where is the secretary or the cleaner or whatever. It's me who has made that. I've met a problem here. I must leave that kitchen better than I found it. And that way also make people come and say, hey, this guy has his washing of plate. And then next time you'll not find a dirty plate there.
Yes.
It is better than shouting. Yeah.
Good.
Having an example. Yeah. So if we just come to an example, today if Ruto just subjects himself to the law and he says, I am the example that you people need about leadership that is anchored on the rule of law, a lot of things in this country will fall in place. But for as long as we can't do that,
yes,
for as long as we can't get a president who embodies the law of the country, then
there
it
is
will be a free fall. Yeah, it will be a free fall.
Oh, so what one of the best clips, one of the best moments for me is when Bob Marley was being interviewed by a journalist, and there was the concept of rich. And I remember him defining what rich is to him, right? So how would you define rich? How do you define it, considering people like Twali, they've come out and they've said, you know what, this guy is poor even to be the president. So
I think Twali cannot say that.
Yes.
Because I think I'm richer than Twali. And I'll give you the reason why.
Yes.
A few years back, there was a shambolic appointment of the commissioners of the National Land Commission. So I went to court and challenged I challenged that process. There's a friend of mine who was called Otiende went to the High Court, I went to the Labour Court, because sometimes they play games and say which court has jurisdiction. Yeah. So he said, let us move to both courts. So I moved in the Labour Court, Otiende moved in the High Court, and then the High Court said, okay, it has no jurisdiction, go to the Labour Court. So we went to the Labour Court and we continue. Now, the case was tight. So, Tia, the son of the commissioners, she's called Tia Galgalo, comes with a battery of some of her relatives and whatever, saying, you see, I'm a widow, I need this job, I've been out of a job, whatever. But the thing was, you never applied for this position. How are you on the list? That was my question. So they tried to entice me with some money. I tell them, no, we are not budging. So After some time, I get a call from Atwoli. I had been to his home before this and that. I get a call from Atwoli. He tells me, now I'm the Luya elder, and when things happen, people come up to me and you say, there's a small problem, I would like you to come. We look at it. Can you come at such and such a time? I said, okay, Mzee, I'll come. So he drove the whole way to his home, down there, and it's very far-flung areas. When I get there, he has got a white maid or these insecurities that these people have. So he has got a white woman who's his maid. Instead of giving that job to a Kenyan, he's given some foreigner. Anyway, she ushers him in, and then I go. I find him seated in his porch there. Then I'm surprised. Chia Galgalo is there. So Atwoli is here. So we talk, we have lunch. Then he texts me, he has got some funny gorofa. I think he was building a bungalow, then decided it has to be a gorofa, some very poorly done thing. So we climb up there. He goes into the inner chamber. He comes out with a bundle of money. He tells Tia, how much do you have? Tia brings some bundle of money. I think it came to about 5 or 6 million shillings on the table. So he says, young man, I've brought you this money, take this money, go and withdraw that case. I looked at him and I said, I don't do those kind of things. And I walked away. I had a good relationship with Atwoli because there was a time he went to Geneva and he brought me 2 shirts, a white shirt and a blue shirt, which I still wear, even I wore one yesterday. But when it got to that point, he's trying to bribe me to do something bad. I told him no, and that's the last time I've spoken to him. So if I can reject 6 million and he thinks 6 million is enough, who is richer?
You are?
I'm richer than Atwoli. Richness is not possession. It's your attitude to possession.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a possession. That's why Jesus said the rich in the spirit. My attitude to material things is that I just, and they're not an end in themselves. Money is not an end in itself for me. I don't need to own the world. I just need money enough for my meal today. Yeah, that's what's critical. So me and Atwoli, who is rich, I'm richer than him because he tried to give me, he thinks money can solve problems. I told him no. Conviction is the important thing in life. So when he goes yapping and doing whatever he says, that I'm too poor to, who said that I want to buy votes? I'm not going to buy votes. I want to convince Kenyans that we can do this thing in a different way. If they get convinced, well and good. If they don't get convinced, I have won my race. I've run my race to the best I've done. I've kept my faith. I've not lost my section of the race. You see, that's how I define it. So people like Atwoli don't understand the world. So the other day he was yapping, Ruto is going to hang himself, telling me to Sugoi, what have you. What did he do when Ruto won?
He changed
He went lapping up to him like a lapdog. So what do I do with that kind of character?
Do such insensitive...
This is a man who cannot even have democracy within the Kotu. What is he doing Kotu all this time? Why can't he allow younger people to take over? And if he needs a fight, I can give him a fight. I can get the Gen Z workers to kick him out. I can get Atwoli kicked out of office. The largest workforce is very young people who don't see the world the way he sees it. But that fight will be going up after a squirrel when we should be chasing the elephant. Yeah. But he should know that he's standing on eggshells. If I focus my guns on Atwoli, he will not be a Kotu chairman. He'll be voted out. Yeah. But that's not the fight we have on our hands right now.
It's the elephant.
Yeah. In Kotu, let him show us what he has done for the workers. He can do nothing for the workers. So he should not be saying that Kenya must be done in the tribal, through a tribal lens. I've never projected myself in any tribe. The thing I have is I believe being a citizen, that's the highest you can be in this country. So it doesn't matter whether you're blue, green, yellow, whatever. Doesn't matter. So when some have been saying I need a tribal block, I don't need a tribal block.
No
I just
kingpinship.
need clarity of mind. I need an agenda that I can give Kenyans to either buy or reject. But agenda I must give them. They must have that Good Friday moment when they are asked, Christ or Barabbas? Let them choose Barabbas if they want. The world won't end. They can choose Christ if they want.
Yes.
And Christ for us is the law, the rule of law. And that's my agenda, the rule of law, full implementation of the Constitution, get the institutions going, let the country be run by the best. If it's a board of a parastatal, I've won cases that say parastatals must be filled, the boards must be filled competitively. Those in power have refused. They are giving it to relatives. They are giving it to cronies and what have you. They are giving it to supporters who lose elections. And so our industry cannot take off. The whole concept of a parastatal was to set up a developmental state. If you look at the Asian tigers, they were brought up by these parastatals because you realize that you are too poor individually to invest in an area, but you can collectively pull money together, put in a state corporation, invest in this strategic area for purposes of liberating the country. Take an example of agriculture. If we had maintained the ADCs and the research centers and what have you, we could be very far in whatever we are doing. But because we did not give it to the best we have, we gave it to our relatives and they had no consequences and whatever. They stole the land, they stole the animals. We don't even have anything to show for. And a lot of parastatals are like that. Kenya Airways, who is on the board? Okay? Who is on the board of whatever? Even if you have got a good MD, managing director, you find he's been given a couple of thugs on the board who are after who want the MD or the CEO to show them how to make some money out of the parastatal. They want to suck, everything. To siphon everything. Life out of the parastatal.
Milk everything.
Yes, instead of saying, let us have targets for this parastatal, let us do interviews, let us give this job on merit, and let this parastatal deliver. We don't do that. So, and that's why you find that our parastatals are not functioning, because the way we fail them, the way we give out jobs, we don't give to the best. And even in the mainstream ministries, a government comes in, the tribe of the president is what is given jobs. Maybe you need somebody who's tribeless, like some of us, to come in and say, okay, we have no tribe to give jobs to. Let us give job to the best who is. If he's an Indian, he's a Kenyan, he's the best we can have. Give him the job. If he's a Somali, if he's a Kikuyu, if he's a Luo, if he's a El Molo, whatever he is, if he's qualified, let us give the job to the person. Not to say that it must be my tribesman here, my tribesman here, my tribesman there. And that's what I'm saying, like for me, if I succeed in my endeavor to be president of this country, my tribesmen do not think they're going to have the state to loot. And my tribesmen will be merit. My tribesmen will be character, not ethnicity. So that's how we think we need to look at it, and it's doable. It has got the constitution, and that's why my hashtag is get it done.
Get it done.
Yes, get it done. Why are you not getting it done? You have everything with you. Why should you shelve the constitution that you have promulgated? Get it done. Stop the Nadiko nonsense. Stop all these attempts to tamper with this thing. Get it done. Look at elections, presidential elections. Since we had this constitution, we have got inconclusive elections. Other than the 202 elections, the elections in this country and especially under this constitution have all ended up in the Supreme Court. Inconclusive. Why? You have refused to follow the law. Even if we don't go to the technology, but the very basic, it's for the presidential election. The law says, that's Article 138, Clause 2. It's very clear. It says where more than one candidate is cleared to vie for presidency, an election shall be held in each constituency. We need 290 elections. The way the Americans have held their elections in every state, they have not yet even formally declared.
Yeah.
The electoral body has not formally declared
Trump
as the winner. But you people know that Trump won. The media called it, and there were things there. Similarly, in Kenya, we need the elections to terminate at the constituency. We know who was won in each one of the constituencies. You take out your calculator, you do the maths over the counties, then you say, okay, this, then the media house can call and say, according to what we have received and whatever, this election has gone this way or that way. Now the IBC has got 10 days to come and do the formal declaration. Note that again we go to Bomas to begin trying to verify whatever. And if you look at it, the idea that, and it's in I think 138 of Clause 10, where the IBC chairman declares the winner. If you look at 86B, the presiding officer in the polling station tabulates and counts, tabulates and announces the results. The returning officer at the constituency level cross-checks that and also announces, he makes a finding, announces the winners. Now, the word in Article 138, Clause 10, is that the chairman of the IBC declares the results. He does not do any finding, he does not do any tabulation. And so, in the Constitution, we do not have a returning officer for the presidential election. The Constitution says you go to the constituency. And in the constituency, the Constitution gives us a presiding officer in the polling station and a returning officer at the constituency. That's the election. Then, the Constitution, when you go to the Elections Act, it also is like that. But now when you go to the regulations, which is a very inferior law made by the executive, it says, it creates something called the Presidential Returning Officer, who is the chairman of the IBC. That's where the problem comes. So you now begin, we need a transmission system. We need whatever. Others come and say, Kamengo intervened in the transition, whatever. Just finish the elections, announce the elections at the constituency, let the people tabulate, let the media call. Then the 10 days, the IBC collects that, declares. If there's any problem, you go to the judiciary, because the decision of the presiding officer and the returning officer can only be changed by the courts. So why go to Bomas to create all this chaos with choirs, with whatever? That Kenya, we cannot finish an election on election day. The Constitution requires that the results be announced promptly. We don't do that. So for me, I think that one of the things that we are good at is going to be an irreducible minimum is to eliminate Bomas from our elections and to do things according to the Constitution, beginning with 2027. And one of my campaign agendas is going to get Kenyans to insist that the election ends at the constituency, so that it can be transparent, and anybody who has participated in elections, you know, there are level of scrutiny at the constituency level.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll get the accurate results, finish with them, and then there we go. So people like Atwoli who think that you need loads of stolen money. I know this is stolen money to go into an election. I'm not understanding that the clarion call will be that let us implement the Constitution. And that's something that is close to every Kenyan. And that call will go out and will be carried by ordinary people. And the elections will be won. And if it's money, Kenyans will finance their own campaign, because it's going to be a movement of the people. Yeah, they'll finance their own campaign. And I don't think there's anybody here with richer than the collective Kenyans.
Yes, true.
Yeah, nobody is. So trying to bring scarecrows, Actually, it's just nothing, just a scarecrow. So the best thing is to ignore him. Yeah.
Ignored.
Yeah.
He's ignored.
Ignored,
Do you think that mentality that we need a rich person to run for presidency is what's wrong with our thinking?
Totally, absolutely. It's totally. In fact, anybody thinking that is horrible. What you need is a citizen who meets the requirements of Article 6. And this is where one problem has come. When you go to Article 99 of the Constitution, 93, sorry, of the Constitution, you'll find that they give a list of disqualification. You are disqualified from being a candidate if you are bankrupt, if you are doing these other things. But then they say if you have been accused of anything and you have appealed, you are not disqualified. So that's a question of disqualification. But when you come to Chapter 6, they talk about suitability. Somebody who can bring honor to an office, whatever. So if you are having baggage, if you are having a criminal case that you have appealed, are you really suitable for that job? You are not. So you are qualified, but are you suitable?
No.
Just like the Americans said the other day, Biden was totally qualified, but they felt he was too old and therefore not suitable. So they got somebody younger to run.
Yeah.
So we have to distinguish between qualification and suitability. Chapter 6 is not about qualification. It's about suitability. It's about bringing honor to the office you hold. Those kind of values. So we are going to be very strong on Chapter 6. And we are also going to be very strong on Chapter 6 in the sense that it's the EACC to enforce that requirement. We have had a habit whereby the IBC thinks that it overrides the EACC when it comes to questions of suitability in public office. The EACC has been giving lists of corrupt people who should not run for office, but the IBC ignores them. We want to do some action around that and see how do we get the IBC working. But as we talk of the IBC again, it's not been constituted. But from where I feel, where I sit, first of all, I'm the one who went to court and invalidated the law that used to be there of how they were electing the IBC officials. So Parliament has now been trying to comply with the orders of the court that came up. And I've seen that again what they are doing, although it will be lawful, it may not result in us having an independent commission. And the reason is this. You cannot, and this is what has affected our commissions across. You cannot have an ad hoc committee, a committee that just comes up for a purpose, then it's dissolved, to give you an independent body. It cannot. That ad hoc, the nature of an ad hoc committee is that people have got short-term interests. And so, money may play a big role in it. So they'll give you maybe whoever can pay, is able to pay. But if you have to look at other countries how they have dealt with it, look at South Africa, look at Brazil, you will see that they don't use ad hoc committees to create these independent bodies. They give the power to institution holders. You've got the judiciary, you've got the judges there, you've got human rights committee, you've got various bodies that have known people are holding them, so that they appoint people and they can take the blame when these people mess. If I ask you today, who gave us Chebukati? You can't remember a single person who was in that ad hoc committee. Who gave us Cherara? Who gave us who? You can't remember. So this idea that you can use an ad hoc committee to create an independent institution like a commission is for me a conceptual impossibility. And that's something we need to look at. Or we do what the old democracies do. The old democracies, and we tried it here. And it's the only thing that gave us 2 successful elections. The referendum of 2005 and I think the NE. It then gave us the 2002 elections. The 2002 elections and then the referendum of 2005. We had the IPPG, where political parties, these fellows who are fighting for this cake, are the ones who produce a dog from each of their group. So everybody has got a dog in that fight. Get dirty, they get dirty. So they balance out, they give you a neutral election. If you go to the UK, the Electoral Commission is composed of nominees of political parties. If you go to the US, it's nominees of political parties. Look at all the old democracies. It's nominees of political parties. It's not that we are religious groups. We want to be able to nominate a candidate to the commission. What seat is the religious groups running for? We are civil society. We must be given a body on any. What seat are you running for? You see? And then it's an ad hoc thing. Then you nominate people, go there. They see some money. They say, God has been very it is once in a lifetime. Blessing. So, you see?
Yes.
So, we're just doing things, you're just doing things that we see cannot work. But if it is somebody with a responsible job that is going to be sitting on the panel that is nominating people, he's likely to say, hey, I'm the Chief Justice. Whoever I put there must be somebody who can deliver something. There will be consequences if they mess. But if you've been an ad hoc thing and as soon as he's appointed, I disappear.
Yes.
I can give you anything as long as he pays me.
I'm good
Mungu amenipa nafasi kupata kitu. So those are the things we need to look at. Yeah, the Lord's doing. So we either allow political parties to populate the Electoral Commission, because these are the crooks who are fighting for power and have an interest in those seats. And I'm telling you, they'll neutralize each other and nobody will rig. We saw it with the IPPG in Kenya. The 2002 elections and the 2005 referendum. People had the dog, the crooks, the thugs. We politicians, the thugs. Each one had a dog there. If you want to rig, I also want to rig. Neutralized.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a question of being good. It's a question of checking each other out. But as long as we say religious leaders must nominate somebody to the panel to vet, what seat are they fighting for? Or that, or that, or the other. So, and then I'm saying again, we're just headed the same way. We're going to end up with a commission that is not anchored on anything. And because the fellows have bribed these ad hoc fellows to appoint them, there are people who want to recover their money that are amenable to bribes. So the highest bidder will buy that commission to give them the election. So we are just, but anyway, let us wait and see what happens. We need a commission, whatever they shed. But if it were to go the ideal way for me, I would do it the way the old democracies do. I would say, okay, you are the political parties. Nominate your thugs. Let all the thugs sit here and checkmate and neutralize each other and give us a free and fair election. Yeah.
Wow, and we've seen people have paid a price for standing for what's right. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of cases where we've lost our loved ones. They've been abducted, they've been threatened. Do you ever go through threats? Do you ever get threatened? Are you ever told, Omtatah, please stop talking?
As we speak, if you are keen, you'll see my teeth, I've got fake teeth in my mouth. And nilipewa kichapo cha umbwa, na wanaita kichapo cha umbwa. When when in 2012, there was this attempt to, when we were going to do the BVR, there was a company from India called 4G Solutions, which tendered, I think, at 4.6 billion. They won the tender. And then something comes up and says they're blacklisted. So when I checked, I found these people were not blacklisted, just even doing an online check. Then I tried to follow up, and I learned that after they won the tender at 4.6 billion, the fellows in the electoral commission were not happy with them. They had their own candidate, but they went to go by the book. So an email was sent from Minister of Foreign Affairs to the High Commission in India on a Friday evening, asking the High Commission in India to do a due diligence on that Indian company that had won the tender. A reply comes back on Monday from the High Commission saying that company is blacklisted in India, should not be given the tender. So they want to go for some company from South Africa, and then other people come in. Then they begin with the Canadian embassy. They begin things they call government to government, and at the end of the day, we brought in Okiya Saffron Mofo, and I think we paid 16 billion for an election that did not work. The Indian fellows do elections there. They're very familiar with those things they would have delivered. So I got involved to try and force the hand of these guys. So I filed a petition number 311 of 2012, still pending in court today. It went before the late Justice Majanja, who was a very efficient judge, very brilliant. He's one guy who could, after hearing in this thing of applications, he could sit after hearing you and he writes a judgment, a ruling at that point, and he was very solid and he gives it. But when this thing went, I got shocked that day because the file did not come back under certificate, and everything was not moving. It took 100 days. Nothing had happened, so I decided to write a complaint. I began getting threats. So I even made an application in court that I need some protection, but it was dismissed that I was just being an alarmist. And the day it was dismissed, the day I was hit. So some characters had approached me earlier and they wanted to give me 9 million shillings through somebody who was very close to me, some lady I knew. She came from my area. She was a general friend. So I said no. So that day when I was attacked, these guys were clobbering me and saying utakufa na utawacha pesa, umekataa pesa, utakufa na hiyo kesi yako itakufa na wewe. So they attacked me. I used to have an office at NSSF and I used to come through the Shell petrol station gate, then I would go across the road, pick a bus, get to town, then get to Ambassador, alight and walk to railways, pick my matatu to Rongai. That was the plan I had for that day. So I left and I found 2 men standing at the stage. They got onto the bus. I got into the bus before them. They got in. I sat on this seat near the door. The bus was full, so actually I sat on the conductor's seat. It was the last seat, I think. They went and stood behind. Then we went to some drizzling. When you got to Emperor Plaza, the rains were a bit heavy, and that actually tried to snarl up of traffic. So I saw no point of sitting in this bus and I had an umbrella. So I alighted and began walking. But I was walking just along the road. I wanted to go across, get to that junction to 680, City Hall, Kencom, railways. That's what I had mapped I was going. So I alighted, I began going with my umbrella. These people also alighted. What should have alerted me is that it was raining and they were walking behind me in the rain and they were not using the pavement. So they called my name. I looked back. They said, Kazi Mzuri, saying, what have you? So after we exchanged the greetings, I continued walking and they accelerated. When I got to I&M, then I crossed the huge building. They caught up with me. Then one went across and he pulled out a metal bar. He hit me here and on my mouth, and I think he knocked out 10 teeth at that point. Then one hit me behind here. I thought it was a gunshot, so I fell down. But I didn't pass out. So this one who had hit me was looking over me like this. When I looked up, I saw him. And by reflex, I just decided to pack a punch. And you know that time I used to be 120 kilos. So I woke up with a punch right here. He went falling down. And I took off. So when I was running around, I ran round. I went back towards Koinange. A young man picked me in his taxi and rushed me to hospital, and I was stitched up. This guy was called Eric. I eventually found him and were able to reconnect, and so that's how I saved my life. But those dangers are there. So I don't have 10 teeth here. They messed up my skull here and there. But I was fixed. And because I'm alive, the struggle continues. So the threats come. But what do you do? Sometimes they're not threats. Some are like insults. They say, you are a gun for hire, you are this, you are the other. But what I always console myself with the scripture where Christ said, John the Baptist came and did not eat and drink. You called him crazy. The Son of Man has come, he eats and drinks. You call him a glutton. So that is society. Yeah. So there have been instances when that has happened, but I think they are not necessarily things to pay attention to. You just have to take precaution and do your part. Because when the food we eat, we are told it's poisonous, it kills you, it will give you this, it will do, but you have to eat. So what do you do? If you don't eat, you die. Yeah. You die quicker than the food would have killed you.
Yes.
After some time. Yeah. So that's how we deal with our threats all over. Sometimes, as I've told you, the attempts of bribes, the tourists of this world think they can buy you out of your cause. There have been all those kind of things. But one time I was nearly messed up. This time, some lady came to, I think I was fighting the removal of, I was challenging an appointment with the CEO of KRA. So a lady comes to my office. She praises the work I do. She says whatever. I was at that time I was at NSSF. I had not moved to my present office at Taj Tower. She praises me, says you are doing good work. We had a good chat and says, but I would like to buy you lunch, just to appreciate you. I say, okay. Today is a bit late, because it was around 3 o'clock. I said, it's a bit late, I've got work, whatever. She said, can I buy you lunch tomorrow? She said, I was not even ready. I was not even saying I was going to buy you lunch today. I wanted to buy you lunch tomorrow, that day, or your Jewish. So I said, okay, tomorrow I can have lunch. But it has to be at the Pan-African, because that's near to where my office is. So we arranged the lunch. There we go. Then this thing of having friends all over. That evening I get a call from somebody who says, did somebody come to your office today? Somebody by the name so and so. I said, yes. Did you offer to buy you lunch? I said, yes. He told me it's a trap. It's a trap. They have set up the EACC, and they're going to treat the place, and they're going to bring money and pour it on that table, and they're going to bring cameras to run, and they're going to arrest you for extorting money to withdraw a case. Don't go. That's how close it came to be caught. I don't know how true it was, but given that this man had talked about this lady and the lunch and what have you, so I declined that lunch. So the threats can come in different forms. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
That was very, very close.
Set up over a lifetime.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest threat I've had so far, and because of friends, I survived. You know, there's a story of the hare and the tortoise. There are two versions. There's one version where they say that a race was set up for the hare and the tortoise. So who would win the race? So the tortoise took up the challenge. So the race, on the day of the race takes off. So there are two versions. There's a version my grandmother gave me, and there's a version I later came and read in the textbooks. Now the version, also I also saw the version that my grandmother gave me in the textbook. So there are two versions. So the version I made in the textbooks, after what my grandmother had taught me, was that the hare and the tortoise have got the starting point, they take off. The hare disappears around the corner. He looks behind, he doesn't see the tortoise, so he takes a nap. Very sure that he's going to, so the tortoise plods on, until he gets the sleeping hare, overtakes the sleeping hare, then he goes and wins the race. When the hare wakes up and however fast he runs, the race is gone. So what you say that hard work pays. Now the version my grandmother gave me, and this is a version I've seen in the textbooks, and this is a version I think is the original African version, is that the hare and the tortoise are given a challenge. But the night before the race, the tortoise knows that he's totally disadvantaged. So he goes to look for relatives. And as his relatives, at every turn, let us have a tortoise, a tortoise, a tortoise.
Oh no.
Plus,
Whoa.
plus at the winning post.
Yes. Let's have one.
Yes. It's networking. Let us network and deal with this,
Yes.
this challenge. So they run. When the whistle is blown, however fast the hare runs,
It means
there's a tortoise ahead. And the tortoise wins the race. So that brings us to what I call the trickster tradition.
Yeah.
And the trickster tradition may not be easy to understand on the Aristotelian scales of morality. You need a slightly broader scale than the Aristotelian scale to understand the trickster model in the African mindset.
Yeah.
So the trickster here, the first thing you see is that what I think is the colonial version of the story, where they say you don't mind about your disadvantages, just work hard.
Hard work pays.
Hard work pays, hard work pays, hard. And you are depending on a third party making a mistake. So you don't control things. In the second event, you take control, you take charge. You know, these are my disadvantages. You take charge and you build a network to deal with this.
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, look at it. Somebody might say the tortoise is cheating. He's not cheating. Where on earth can you put a hare and a tortoise to run? Why was it not that they should take lashes on their back? The tortoise would simply retreat in the shell and would take a lot of lashes, and the hare would not survive any. So why look at the injustice in the race? So the injustice in the race then expands the sphere of morality. We come from the moral to almost the amoral. Okay? So now the tortoise organizes, he says, okay, there's injustice here. Itakula injustice, kitaumana. So it goes and plans that. You get a similar version where the buffalo and challenges the hare again or the tortoise to a tug of war. And the tortoise goes, this fellow goes and ties his end on a boulder. And this heavy buffalo struggles until it gives up. So the trickster capacity to understand the challenges you have and the injustice you face,
Yes.
and to overcome it. So when the Tribalists of this world come and say, you don't have money, do they know the trickster in me?
Do they know? They don't.
I don't have to topple Ruto by pushing him out. I can topple Ruto by moving the people away from Ruto. So they are going to encounter a trickster on the field. Yeah. It's not going to be business as usual.
No.
I want to go and build networks of ordinary people.
Wow.
To say, we have an existential threat. These people have got money. They have stolen the money from us. They are using it to oppress us. Can we unite as the small people who don't have money and move away from them so that they can drop down like a rotten fruit? And Ruto will drop like a rotten fruit. We don't need to fight him. All we need to do is to move the people away. And that's what the campaign will be.
Change the mindset.
And the people have already moved.
Yes.
So what is this man that is talking about? Yeah. So that is the issue we have to deal with. So when he talks about being poor, being whatever, he thinks I don't know the disadvantages I face. I know them. But like my grandmother talking about the hair and the tortoise, I can build networks. I can use X space. I can use whatever. I can get young people to go. People will volunteer.
Yeah.
I tell people, okay, this is the case.
Let's go.
How many of us are poor? Can we get a network of poor people to stand up?
Let's move.
And let's move and take the country back. Let us get it done.
Yeah.
And it will be done. So you understand these people.
you have a very beautiful connection with the Gen Zs. You have a very beautiful connection with them, and there is no secret. There is that admiration they have towards you. How does that make you feel, and what do you think you need to do to make sure that this relationship you have with them stays all the way to the end?
I think the relationship is a meeting of minds. I'm a total believer in good governance.
Yes.
The Gen Z are demanding good governance. And all my life, since when I became a public figure, I've fought for good governance. When I look at my report cards, I was looking at them, and I saw one the other day.
You still have them?
My father kept them, and I keep them. My father has my report cards from class 1.
Oh.
And I still keep them. So I looked at one at my A levels, and the rector was called Father Hayes. Wrote that very obedient, but too outspoken for the comfort of the ignorant.
Too outspoken
for the comfort of the ignorant. Yeah. So that's what Father Hayes wrote. I was just looking at my report and I said, gosh. So he said I was very obedient, but I was too outspoken for the comfort of the ignorant.
Oh.
You see.
You've been a Gen Z all your life.
so that one comes out, and in school I was a head boy, but I still had fun with I was never a bully. And everybody said I was the best head boy they had in the school because you had all that nice time. And I also went through a school system that strengthened character. In secondary school, if I remember well, and some of my schoolmates are now bishops. You have got the Bishop of Bungoma. He was a class behind me. The Bishop of the Archbishop of Kisumu, the one who gave a scathing statement the other day, was 2 classes behind me. So we grew up as boys and knew each other. And at Tindinyo College, we had this, first of all, even at the school, they could allow, if you wanted to smoke, you could smoke. And you could buy it from the
canteen?
No, the head teacher's office.
Oh.
Yeah. But there was a campaign against smoking. So I never saw people smoke in our school. So we would go on outings. You find boys feeling very tough that they are smoking, but you look at them as idiots. Because you came from an environment where there was That kind of oppression was not there. So you go to school and you could sit down with the headmaster and everybody would come there and you could talk out on Sundays. You could talk out freely with the people. Talk out, even to speak against your teachers, whatever. Nothing would be held against you. Yeah, so as long as you were there. So you grew up in an environment that, other than educating you, also did formation.
Oh.
Yeah, it also formed your character so that you would go on, and you find that you have these who are mainly very, very educated. Most of our teachers were very highly educated fellows. But they lived very simple lifestyle. They were priests, very simple lifestyles. We had Father Shakis write books for CRE. I don't know if you remember, if you did CRE, there were books like The Promise, whatever, that Father Shaki was there. And you would find him very simple. At one time, when I was growing up, I wanted to do missionary work in Lodwar. So I had my first day when I went there to see, I went to the bishop's place, Bishop Mann. He's now deceased. The bishop was having visitors. He was an Irishman. He had a lot of visitors. So the place was full. So the time for sleeping, we went to go and rest. The bishop showed me into some room with a very comfy bed. I went to sleep. In the morning when I woke up, I usually wake up very early. Also, because of my grandfather, he used to wake me very early in the morning. He said, when you don't wake up early, you'll find the world gone. Whatever he meant, I don't know. So I usually wake up very early.
The fact you were 1 hour ahead of me today.
Yeah.
That's such a shame. And I consider myself a timekeeper.
Yeah. So that thing on time. So I woke up early and I got a shock of my life. When I go through the living room, I found the bishop sleeping on a mat. He had given me his bed. So I looked at Bishop Mann and asked him, why did you do this? He told me, when you grow up, you'll understand. And in the house I slept, I would never seen so much money stacked up. I would never seen so much money stacked up. We had dollars, Deutsche marks, pounds. We didn't have the euro at that time. Stacked up in piles. He was using it for his missionary work. So I said, this bishop, and I say, hi, why did you do this? You gave me a bed and you slept down. It touched me, and today when I talk about it, I get emotional. So, that kind of formation, and somebody tells you are not rich, what does he mean? He wants you to take a bribe. What does he mean? What is the purpose of material things? Then this very same bishop, just that week, at night, we had remained with him at night. Some Turkanas came in with somebody had been stung with a scorpion. The nearest medical center was in Kitale. So we did what? We had to drive the whole night to bring this patient to Kitale to be attended to from this poison. But when these people came, they wanted a vehicle to help. The bishop said, pay. They begin saying to Turkana, we are masking, and he said, no, pay, then I'll take you. Together, these people collected some little money. I think it was about 50 bob or something. He took the money, put it in his pocket, and he drove overnight to Kitale, had his man treated, and then he drove back. So this kind of experiences, you begin wondering, what's the purpose of life? And then I asked him, why did you
charge?
Why did you charge? He said, I don't want to create a dependency complex. You see? So I've had real-time experiences that have touched me. And so that's how I engage with life. when I drive a small car in town, by the way, the other time when I had an accident, it would have been a grisly accident in Kisumu going home, where a trailer nearly reduced me to a chapati. Everybody condemned me for driving a small car. Then you wonder, do people drive small cars don't have a right to be on the road? Why don't you condemn the tank driver who was driving a vehicle that was unserviced, or he was not in a condition to drive a vehicle, carrying fuel, basically a bomb on the road, who was driving recklessly? Nobody condemned him. Everybody was saying, even a group came up and said they wanted to fundraise money for me to buy for me a big truck and stuff like that. So what's wrong with a simple life? So everybody, all those people have been complaining about this. You go back and say, do they really understand? If I have to live large, then shouldn't I steal? You see. So those are among the things that you look at society and you say, okay, we may need to go back to the basics. Let us stop worshipping false gods. When money becomes an end to yourself, you are worshipping an idol. Money should just be a means to something else. If I want to buy a big car today, I can buy a very big car. But what is a car? It's a system of levers of moving from point one to B. If I can do it on the cheap, why should I do it on the expensive knee? Mm-hmm. Why? I'm not defined by the clothes I wear. I'm not defined by the car I drive. I'm defined by my character. If I give you my word,
that's your bond.
I should give you everything about myself. That's what should define me. Not the kind of watch I wear, not the kind of whatever. So, for me, it's about character and conviction. It's not about cash. It's not about cash.
And you feel that's what the Gen Zs are after?
And that's what the Gen Zs are after, and I think that's why we bond that public office should be strictly for service. If you want to make money, go out to enterprise.
Period.
But if you want to run in a public office as a politician, as a civil servant, then your choice is to serve. And your reward is legacy, not wealth. I don't know if you're getting it.
Got it.
Yeah. Your reward is legacy, not wealth. But you make the people rich by converting their resources into wealth. For the commonwealth, you make the common people grow rich. But you don't go there to make yourself rich, because if you go there to make yourself rich, then you can never make the country rich.
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Myself. I don't know. One thing is that I would like to live a modern republic in place. A country under the rule of law and a thriving economy where every individual is protected. I'm not a man of the welfare society or whatever. I don't believe in a welfare state, but I believe in a caring state. So that's the kind of legacy, if I was given a chance to be the chief executive of this country, I'll want to stress one thing. The word republic in the name of Kenya. When you say the Republic of Kenya, why the word republic? Republic is a government of law by the people. The law rules everybody. Everybody is subject to the law. It's a government where the people come first, not the state. You have seen some people say that because of state security, they to violate certain rights, they to do whatever. No. If you secure the rights of the people, you secure the state, because the state should be anchored on territory and people who exercise their sovereignty. So the word republic, and I would go back to what I tell people occasionally, when I've been reading about the history of the American Constitution, I got to a very interesting point whereby after they had just had the consensus on the document, and some of the one of the fellows on the forefront was Benjamin Franklin, an old man in his 80s. They say he had very severe gout at that time. So he was asked by some people, say, "My guy, you've had your way. What have you given us? Is it a monarchy or a republic?" And his answer was, "A republic if you can keep it." He did not just say a republic. He said a republic if you can keep it. So the Republic of Kenya, we have failed to keep Kenya as a republic. And if I'll have a legacy, I would want to restore Kenya to be a republic, a government of law, where the people come first, where everybody is subject to the law. You mess, there are consequences. So I want to keep the republic. And that's why I say in my hashtag, get it done. We have the constitution, we have the national anthem, we don't need anything else. Just implement them, get it done.
Get it done.
And you are done.
I don't think you need luck at this point.
And I don't need my
you don't need luck. Go get it done.
Yeah, get it done.
There's a whole community besides you vouching for you.
Yeah.
You know, anticipating to see where this goes.
Yeah.
And also the exploratory committee, that's something people have. I don't think that's something we've ever witnessed as a nation.
Yeah.
If they come back 18 months later and they tell you, we feel like this is not it, would you say that's okay?
Yeah, I would say that's okay if it is not going to work. But one of the things they do as an exploratory committee is to make the candidature viable.
Yes.
What are the obstacles? What are the policy frameworks you need to engage? What do you need? I want to use Kiambu.
Yeah.
I like Kiambu because Kiambu has a lot of contradictions. You have got some of the richest people in Kenya, but also the poorest people in Kenya. And there are not few. People who totally own nothing, they're destitute. You have also there. Then you have now seen the young generation coming up. If you look, you have been around, some of us have been around long enough. When you used to drive to Ruai, whatever those sides, those were farms, peasants. Now you have got flats. Where did these people go? And you and me know that even if I gave you money today, you will consume it. It will go. So money is not as good as an asset. So a place like Kiambu, we are now seeing a lot of, generally in Central, people get the level of alcohol abuse and whatever is high. But ask yourself, since independence, what serious industrialization has taken place
in our country?
No,
In
in Kiambu here, to secure those people whose farms, pieces of land have been taken over. How are those people surviving? It's an economic meltdown. So when you see these people getting drunk and delinquent, it's not that these characters in Kiambu have a gene that wants alcohol. That hopelessness, you'll not cure that hopelessness by burning down bars, by invading whatever. You'll cure that hopelessness by modernizing the economy of Kiambu, getting a service industry going, getting factories going. And that is the same for the rest of this country. We need to industrialize. And to industrialize, the first basis, we need to stop the theft of public funds. We need to secure this money. We need to enforce the law. We need to be ruthless with those who steal. And when we unlock this money, we should stop narratives like I even heard Mbadi the other day repeat it, that we lose 2 billion shillings a day to corruption. He's saying that in Parliament we are fighting. We lost the fight yesterday. We're fighting to make sure that the county governments get at least 400 billion shillings, up from about 380 something. And now, why don't we just stop the loss of the 2 billion for 1 week and give the counties the money they need? So we need to come around and secure public funds as a first entry point. That's why it's very important to separate the treasury from the politicians. Let the politicians control nothing. Now, when we save this money, you can begin getting partnerships and give offers and begin creating industry in places like Kiambu and whatever, then sack people into service jobs. Kenya is so strategically placed for a service industry, very strong manufacturing and service industry, that we can do. Invest in power, get all these Shylocks out. Work for proper banking. Get a banking system that's not basically a system of extortion. Let the money that Kenyans put in the banks work for them. So once we get an industrial base, we get capital, we get whatever that we can then turn around into industry, create service jobs. Nobody's going to go and get drunk. No one. People will wake up and go to work. But if you have to wake up, you have 2 hands, you have to eat, you have somebody back, maybe somebody depending on you, you have nowhere to go, you may want to drown yourself in alcohol. At least get an escape route that way. So for me, I think industrialization for this country is key. But there will be industrialization without fiscal discipline. And the fiscal discipline should not be that good people come to power. Should be that the design does not allow you to do anything wrong. If you should try it, you cannot get off what you want. And I like giving this example. What you have done with our constitution. We have come, we have borrowed the charter, gave ourselves a very beautiful charter and whatever. It's like I come to your house, I want to answer the call of nature. I'm from the village, I've been using maybe the pit latrine is far off. Then just go and use the room next door. Then I use the room next door, I flash and I say, wow, you mean this can happen? Then I say, when I go back to my village, I'm going to build a self-contained house. Come rain, come sunshine. Yes, and I go. And I build a self-contained house. And then I say, for the toilet, I'll put it in the living room so that people can know that you can have a toilet in the house. Will it function? It's not functional. You get me? That's what we are doing with our constitution. Let us implement the whole thing as it is designed. And this constitution has a lot of promise for us. A lot of promise. The bombers one that some of us were dying for was much better, but this one is also good. It's not the best, but it's good. And the good in it can move this country forward. If you go to chapter 12 on public finance, one of the best written chapter, and written with the history of this country in mind, that we have had a habit of abusing public office. And the history is there. Look at the richest people in this country. Were either politicians or senior civil servants. Not in entrepreneurs. About maybe 1 to 2% were entrepreneurs, but the majority is because of having been to the public and having abused public resources. That's the legacy they have. All of those big names you hear. Today, there's as big rich families and what have you, they stole from the public. So we need to draw a line and say that's our past. Going forward, we must have proper things. In terms of public debt, when you come to my office, I've got a graph which I keep on filling, and you'll see from independence, when we had people whom they claimed did not go to school, whatever, the likes of Tom Mboya, the likes of Martin Chukwuku, and many others, for the JM karaoke of this and what have you. the Mois and whatever, you'll find that the graph of borrowing is a plateau almost, the debt rising at a very, very, very slight gradient of about maybe 2 degrees or something. Then Kibaki goes at about, the gradient goes at about 5 degrees. 2013 is about 45. The degrees are about 75, you see. So you find, now when you look at development, there's no corresponding development that this money has taken. And so that's why now the other thing we have to deal with is the question of odious debt. We must confront it. We must open up the books and say what was borrowed, what did it do? Was it borrowed according to the law? Where is the Appropriation Act of every year? Fortunately, we have had an Appropriation Act every year. Is this debt, was it approved by Parliament? If it was not approved by Parliament, how did the President go borrowing it? And when the people who are lending this money, did they know that there was a law in Kenya which says you can only lend through Parliament? So if you are going to lend money like the IMF is doing, you are lending money outside the law to a regime, do you expect that money to be paid by the sovereigns?
No, and we won't.
Yeah, those are the things you have to deal with and crack them. And we're not going. It's not being crazy, because if you go back to history, the doctrine of odious debt. When you go back into history, you'll find that when the Americans threw the Spaniards out of Cuba, the Spaniards demanded some payment from the Cubans. The Americans told them this money did not benefit Cubans. It benefited the Spanish regime. So go and sort yourself with your lenders. That's the same doctrine we're going to use here. Was the money borrowed lawfully?
Yes.
Did it benefit the local people? If it was not borrowed lawfully, where is that money? Because you can't spend 1 billion shillings. 10 billion, you can't. It's hiding somewhere. We want to follow that money, bring it back, put it in the sovereign fund. And if they took some loans and they squandered money and whatever, we want to follow the trail. And this article 226, clause 5, it says if you are a holder of a public office, be it as a political player or as a civil servant, and public resources are lost under your charge, you are liable whether you are in office or not. We want to apply that article to get the money that was stolen from wherever it is hidden,
and
bring it back in this country, and put it in the sovereign wealth fund. We begin a sovereign wealth fund. We need to have a sovereign wealth fund and get a proper act of parliament that will make us grow that money. And if any government will want to use that money, they will have to go to a referendum to get the people to approve them to misuse that money, to spend it on recurrent expenditure. Unless it is being used maybe to be invested in AA stocks and stuff. So those are among the things that we need to do, so that there is a duty of care even for the IMF. There's something called the duty of care. The same thing I told you my grandfather said, you get a thorn on the road, you have a responsibility to remove it. Even if you wear shoes and it will never hurt you. Somebody comes without shoes, gets hurt.
It's on you.
So the duty of care, I want to ask the IMF, what was your duty of care to the people of Kenyans when you were giving money to these regimes outside the law? That's what we call predatory lending. So all the predatory lenders to Kenya, we want to sit them across the table and deal with it. And there are laws that also govern this kind of operations. You remember we used to have the duty-free shops. There was somebody there called Ibrahim, Ali Ibrahim, yeah. Yes. He was the knee.
Yeah.
So when Moi had been thrown out of the shops, and I think it went to Patni, they went to the arbitration tribunal in Washington. And they did their case there. Ali was demanding quite some handsome amount from the Kenyan government for saying they terminated the contract legally. But one paragraph in his affidavit said to get the contract, he bribed Moi. So those fellows said, okay, you bribed Moi, Is it the public policy of the Kenyan state?
No.
It's not. So you cannot have a contract. That's how Ali lost it. It was thrown away. Otherwise, if that program had not been there, Kenya would have paid him a lot of money. So these are the principles that exist. So when the IMF gives money to Mr. William Ruto outside the framework of lending, does that become a sovereign debt? It's not.
It's not.
We need to see this IMF characters, and the others who have done the same with Kenya. And the SGR and whatever loans are given, money doesn't come in the consolidated fund, it is spent outside there. We want to see them across the table. When you are lending this money, was there a law in Kenya that said you can't lend this money this way? And was in that law put there to protect the people of Kenya from this kind of loans? So if you broke that law and lend money contrary to that law,
Whose interests?
Who is liable? Can you kindly, Jubilee regime, Kenya Kwanza regime, can you kindly go to Beijing and deal with the Chinese there and leave the Kenyans in Kiambu growing their chicken? Leave the Kenyans in Mandera herding their goats in peace, not being forced to sell their goats and chicken to pay you. You knew there was a law that protected these people. So when you are engaging, that handshake you are engaging in, the Eurobonds, you knew there was a law. So before you even talk of defaulting or whatever and what have you, we are going to look at the public debt. We are going to look at how it's supposed to be acquired. We are going to look at how it was acquired, how it was utilized. If it was acquired wrongly, those who acquired, that's a regime debt. The regime and those who lend, go and sort your issue away. Leave the sovereign people of Kenya alone. If it was acquired legally, but used illegally, somebody pocketed it, that guy, give us back our money. We put in the sovereign wealth fund. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the kind of things we want to
achieve.
That's the thing what to want to do, because public finance is both the heart and the blood that runs the state. And we want to run this government on the basis of a budget, a balanced budget. We're not going to have expenditure outside the budget. And the expenditure in the budget must be justified. So, we go back to the primary place of the budget. When Parliament makes the budget is an act of Parliament. It's a law. It's a law. Or a county assembly makes a budget and is signed into law by the governor. It becomes a law. It's binding. That budget must be dealt with. So that we're talking equity, equitable distribution and the development of the country, let it be in the budget. Let us see how the resources are being distributed. Then the control of budget and the national treasurer do the rest. But telling us tutatenda, tumetenga, tumefanya nini, but it's not in the budget, is out.
It's X.
So we want to restore the budget as the primary policy tool of our government. We want to restore, we go to manufacturing. We want to do a productive, we want to review our tax regime and say who really are benefiting from these taxes. For example, with the experts have sat, we have really looked at the history of this country and looked at whatever. We have found that you need only 14 ministries in Kenya, not 24. That will be a saving from wastage. Yeah. Money will be released. We want to do this kind of policy positions. We want to be able to save money and invest in key areas. We must achieve food sovereignty, not just food security. We must achieve food sovereignty. We must be self-sufficient in food. We must restore the public health system. It must compete with the private. And there's a lot of theft of resources by medical practitioners from government to the private things. when I was growing up, a government tablet used to be branded GOK. A Panadol from government had GOK. Those things were removed. I would like them to come back. Government stores must be branded. So that if you go and try to sell them as contraband, the population will say, I will to pay in your sarakali. And the Gen Z will not allow that. They will run you out of your shop. So we go back and brand. So this idea of saying that hakuna dawa kwa kliniki ya serikali lakini kwa duka ya medical superintendent ako na nini hapa yako nayo hakuna, should not happen. If the government stores, the government stores. So those kind of things. We need to look at education. In a developing country, the most important resource you need is a human resource. We must finance the development of the human resource by the taxpayer. So basic education must be financed by the taxpayer so that that brilliant, that genius who has been born, that genius El Molo, who has been born somewhere we don't know, goes to school. And preferably from class 1 to first degree. Or whatever. Should be some form of taxpayer intervention. Then the fourth area is public transport. A government must intervene in public transport. We must get public transport working. When I was a kid, when I came to this town, in the late 80s, there used to be those big buses, green buses, and you could use them on time. You could know that the bus from Embakasi to Kibera will pass at a certain time. You will time it. We used to have that. We have to go back to a place whereby the state invests in public transport. The private sector just invests in public transport. How do we accommodate it within a properly organized system so that people can move around quickly? Another area that I'm really interested in is air travel. We have made the necessary, we have reduced it to a preserve of an elite. We must open up air travel by doing simple runways across the country, removing taxation so that people can invest in proper aircraft and fly people around. I want to leave Busia, go and transact in Mandera, and come and sleep in Nairobi on the same day. That kind of movement should be there. We are wasting a lot of time on the road.
We are.
And the time is a limited resource.
It is.
So we must go to that and create those systems that work. So I have a strong belief that if those four things are taken care of,
we are good.
And some of them, when you take care of them, you need to reduce this irrational taxes that we have. And I always have that image of Winston Churchill saying that you can't tax a country into prosperity.
True.
To do that is like standing inside a bucket and trying to lift yourself by the sides. You cannot do it. So we must get into responsible taxation. And that responsible taxation, we must then give people instruments of how to save that money. Open up the treasury bills or whatever it is. Create instruments where, or infrastructure bonds, into which the general population can grow their money. And there's a lot of money to be grown in this country. You see when these Ponzi schemes come up, they scam people billions of shillings.
A lot.
Because people have money, they have nowhere to invest. So we must create vehicles that people can invest in, grow their money, and then once we get that capital, then we can do things with it. So that we don't just look at foreign direct investment.
Yes.
We also look at the local investors, our manufacturers. How do we get our manufacturers to dominate the region and to compete, to be competitive globally?
And value add and everything.
So all these things we need to do. I was talking to somebody, and recently some group came from, for some reason people come even from ministries, people are frustrated. Come and download on me. So the other day a group came from the fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries. And they downloaded me on me to a point whereby I was going to run crazy about tuna in the Indian Ocean. They showed me World Bank maps of fish in the tuna fish in the Indian Ocean. And they told me the Indian Ocean is barren. To India, all those countries, Australia, whatever, they're barren. The place the tuna fish is found is the East African coast, beginning from Somalia down to Madagascar. But the epicenter is Kenya, it's Kenyan waters. A 10 trillion shilling economy. We are struggling to raise 3 trillion. This is the 10 trillion economy being exploited by Australians, Singaporeans, Chinese, European, just paying some token licenses and bribes to government. So these people we're trying to see how do we get this resource to serve us. Because they were saying if we just invest a bit in this thing and do the fishing ourselves, what are you going to do? We are going to be net exporters of money. We are going to be borrowing. There's that kind of wealth. And these are experts, but they say they can't move because the politicians are blocking the way.
Yeah.
That day I had a chat with our court who said that some investors wanted to do something in Turkana. But they could not move because the local civil servants and politicians controlling the country demanded that they be given a 30% shareholding in the company upfront. So I've got all these things that are blocking us. So these are the barriers that you have to deliberately go in and knock out. You get the farmers at the mercy of merchants in terms of inputs, in terms of markets. Those fellows have to be tackled for the region to be productive, for the inputs to be there. And even something like a subsidy. If you're going to give a subsidy, when they began talking subsidies in this country, I've done some reading, some desktop reading, and I found that, yes, a place like, again, go to India. The government, when it's giving a subsidy, does not go into warehousing, does not import the products and then do whatever, no. What they do, there's the market selling these things. They give vouchers. So they assess the farmers and say, you need a subsidy of 2 bags of fertilizer. We are giving you a voucher of 2 bags of fertilizer. Go and redeem it from whichever store. Then the trader comes. The government does not import, begin incurring warehousing costs, it has never distributed, it has never done what? Tags bring in fake fertilizer and
fake
stuff. Everything becomes a mess. So you have got things that used to work in this country, like the Kenya Farmers Association. They controlled the inputs and quality. They controlled access to markets. So those are the kind of things we need to do so that we can grow wealth. We can create new wealth in the country. We need to move away. There's another thing that has also crept in. Some people, they had the historical injustices. They had this. Yes, just like colonialism happened. It happened. But are you going to be stuck in history? We move forward. You want to do, they have been saying a question like marginalized groups being given a chance. Yes, the marginalized group will be given a chance. But merit should not be sacrificed. That affirmative action must also demand some minimum basic, some minimum from whoever is getting the affirmative action. If it's a question of running institutions, a question of doing this or the other. But ultimately, we must realize that the private sector and not government is the one to create jobs. Government is to create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And as the private sector thrives and grows its capital and whatever, we get employment for our people. And our people cannot continue, we cannot continue with the peasant economies. We have to move into the service industry. Those are among the things that are irreducible minimums for me.
you.
Yeah.
Have you thought of a running mate? We have people who have also said, you know, I think I want to get in this space. We have Akina Morara, we have all these people. Have you thought of a running mate?
I've not thought of a running mate. Because for me, the most important thing right now is the agenda. I'm working on an agenda, and we want to build a proper vehicle that can deliver the promise of this country. So question of running mate will come with its own time, and help us move forward. There will be real politics at that point and what have you, but critical is that there has been a meeting of minds on the agenda we are implementing. Yeah, so the running mate issue will be resolved at the time it will be resolved. Yeah, it could even be that I become a running mate.
Would you?
If there's a better person than I am.
Yes. Do you think there's a better person right now?
No, I've not seen one right now.
Okay.
Because I've not seen a person with the kind of fight I would like to see to deconstruct the neo-colonial state. So that we can now construct a state that's independent, that has got the people as a primary component of that state. Right now, the Kenyan state is about territory, about sovereignty or security. It has no people. So you have to bring the people in as a critical component of that state, so that the three pillars of the state can then function. And once we have the people at the center of the state, and wherever a Kenyan is, the Kenyan state should be, or is. That's what happens with these Americans. Wherever an American is working as America. Yeah. You mess with them, you mess with America.
With America.
Yes.
You mess with the state.
You mess with that state. Look at our diaspora. Very productive sector of the Kenyan state. We are not dealing with them. The Kenyan state is not there. So we need to get the Kenyan state to be vibrant in the diaspora and help them organize and whatever. And if there's investing, they invest back here. If there are opportunities out there, they can be supported to grow wealth up there, and then that wealth finds its way back here. So the Kenyan state must begin looking for the people. So if the people become part of the Kenyan state, then wherever a Kenyan is, that is Kenya.
That is Kenya.
That is Kenya.
Get it done.
Get it done there. So that's where we should
focus.
We should focus on and be able to compete globally.
Yeah, and maybe finally, there have been a couple of mixed reactions on some of your committee members. Do you regret having anyone's name in that list?
No, I don't. I don't. I just look at people's potential.
Yes.
And people can be molded. People can be molded. People can grow. There have been a lot of distractions and what have you. Some people, sometimes it's rivalry. Sibling rivalries here and there. But let people prove themselves.
Good. Yeah. Give them a chance.
Give them a chance, and I think the committee I have is up to the task. It is multi-talented. It has got the face of Kenya, both in terms of region, in terms of religion, in terms of age. Yeah, it has got the face of Kenya.
Diverse.
It's diverse. And so I think it should be able to, for us, deliver on the mandate. We have other committees working on other things. Policy issues are being worked on. Like I've been telling you about a government of 14 ministries and the presidency. There's a committee of very, very senior people. Some are senior government officials who say, don't let us not be known. But this is how government should work, and it's not working like this. So the goodwill in Kenyans is immense. And we are going to make sure that we work to the end, and we are not going to be scared by scarecrows who do anything. And there's a story told of, again, I happen to be a playwright, and that's a side of me that people don't know.
Yeah.
I've written books, I've published. They don't know I'm a playwright. So the other side of the oral literature that you get, this time is against the Totas. Totas was told, he claimed he went boasting and saying, this guy you called a leopard, you think you fear him? If I get him, I'll make, I'll scrub the floor with his back. Can give him a beating of his lifetime. So the leopard hears of this story and goes hunting for the tortoise. Sometime he meets him near a well and asks the tortoise, Mister, is it true you're claiming you can beat me and mess me up? He said, yes, I can do it even now. The leopard says, okay, bring it on. Just give me a minute. So what does he do? The tortoise begins knocking down trees, uprooting things upright, rearranging the scene. Then he finishes and says, kill me now. Whoever finds me dead on this scene will know you met your equal. So the hare gets scared and he runs away. The leopard gets scared and runs away and said, this is terrible for my reputation. Shame. You see. So people are trying to scare us. And like, that's what Atwell is trying to do. He's trying to rearrange the scene. But me, I'm not running away. I'll mess you up on the same scene. Yeah. So
there's no shame.
There's no shame.
I'll meet you there.
So let them say what they want to say.
You'll still get it done.
You'll still get it done. Kama in Swahili tekeleza.
Tekeleza.
Kama in Katiba tekeleza. So that's how we are going to move this country forward. You have got beautiful people, very hardworking people.
Yes.
People who are geared to material progress. Look at the struggle the average Kenyan parent puts into their children to get them an education. They are all heroes. I've seen situations where people have thrown all they have to get their children educated.
That's true.
Because they believe that education has a future. There's a promise. Then they go to education, struggle, your kid becomes an engineer, a doctor, a teacher, whatever profession, a journalist, whatever. Then they are told the check has bounced. The education, there are no funds in the education bank. Whoever gave you the check has bounced. Your certificates have bounced. Your degrees have bounced. They mean nothing. Go back and maybe you should have just have been a border from day one. You would be very far today. So that idea that our certificate, the promise in the certificate, when you go to cash it, you are told insufficient funds, must end. There must be sufficient funds for an average Kenyan leaving college to cash and get something back for them. We speak very good English, but we cannot get some of the jobs available internationally on the international market because maybe our power is not stable. So maybe the call centers cannot be put here because of infrastructure challenges. We must deal with those challenges so that we can open up this space. So that Kenyans can thrive. We must get rid of unnecessary taxes that are making it very, very expensive So Kenya has to produce. Youngsters going into the digital spaces to make some money, you are taxing them. What the heck are you after?
Like, what the heck?
What are you after?
Yeah.
So, for me, I think that if we just get a clear policy framework, the ideology is already there. The legal framework is there. The constitution is there. The ideological position is already, the destination is already defined in the national anthem. So the activities that we need now to do, first implement the constitution, then based on the constitution, get on the journey to achieve on that vision in the national anthem. We'll do it. And that's why I was saying that right now, the per capita income, GDP per capita income of Kenya is $1,900. And if the wealth of Kenya is divided across, is about 200 or something. 200, about 300,000 shillings per year, which when you divide it over 365 days, you find it's something negligible. And then also you look at it, you'll find that even that GDP, when you really looked at, maybe 90% is in the hands of about 10% of the economy, and the other people are sharing the remaining. So one of the things we must do, as for me, to measure, if I was to become president, how would I measure my success? My success would be, we are at $2,000 today per capita. I have a target of $30,000 within the next 5 to 10 years. What needs to be done
to get us
get there? And that's the question the experts have to answer. Then, when what needs to be done has been answered, the challenge of leadership now is to ensure the resources that are required to get that done are availed. Look at this country, research and development. The average requirement is that you should put at least 2% of your budget, minimum, in research and development. The last time I checked, I think Kenya had, the last figures I saw, Kenya had about 0.4% in research and development. So basically, we are consumers of other people's efforts and whatever. We are not doing any research in this country.
That's scary.
That's scary. So even these vaccines they want to vaccinate livestock with, how much research and development have we put in that vaccine? And what do we know what is in that vaccine? You see. So R&D are areas that are neglected, but R&D are areas that we must invest in so that we can find solutions to our current problems. It's not enough to drive around like a king, to have your picture in every room, to have fellows standing behind you when you are talking. All these things where we spend a lot of money on, to have big motorcades when going somewhere, you are running like you are running away from something, you are migrating. Every time you think the president is migrating, every time you see his motorcade. So all those things have to get away. All this wastage of public resources has to end. And we must have a generation that says we are the ones planting the foundation of a modern Kenyan state. We must have a generation that says that. And then we plant that mustard seed. And then the state will thrive.
Yes, we will water.
And that mustard seed for me is the Constitution.
Good.
And once we plant that Constitution and implement it fully, you will see the promise of that Constitution. But for as long as we are doing our own things, stuck in the neo-colonial state, struggling to say that the problem is the Constitution, let us change it so that we can create jobs for leader of opposition.
Add the term.
Yeah. increase the term limit, do whatever. That is not our problem. Implement the constitution, let merit be the test, and that way you'll find the cream of this country rising to the top.
Yeah.
If not, like in any dirty area, when you just go and swallow water in a pool, it's the rubbish which comes to the top. So we are in a situation in Kenya whereby what comes to the top is the rubbish in the country. Right to State House, na matope. Takataka ndio huko. The cream is nowhere. And the cream can only rise when the waters are calm, when the law has taken over. Then the cream will rise to the top and people will perform. Even people coming to invest here, they know that that country is a rule of law. If they send dispute, you'll get justice. People will come and invest.
Yes.
But if they know that you cannot get justice,
No, they win.
there are people in this country who have been snatched their wealth by being abducted and kicked out of the country. Then they leave their wealth behind. There are government cases like that. So it cannot work. We must have the security. Look at this issue. Young boys and girls demonstrating with very legitimate concern, being mowed down with guns. And nobody is held accountable until today.
Till today.
We can't let those deaths go for nothing, mean for nothing. People being abducted all over. Life has become so cheap. Today we begin the 16 days, is it?
Yes.
Of the women action. Look at how women are being killed around this country. And what are the security forces doing? What is the police force doing?
Wametenga.
Where are the culprits? We can't allow that to continue. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we must put our feet down and say Kenya is a republic, and the republic, we will keep it.
Keep the republic.
We will keep the republic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the target.
I think that's my take home. Keep. Not just a republic.
Yeah.
We'll give you the republic.
Yes.
If you keep.
If you can keep it.
If you can keep it.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, my take home is this is a republic that we must keep.
Kenya is a republic that must be kept.
Must be kept.
When you listen to the national anthem, it's a republic being defined. Where there's justice, where there's wealth, where there's harmony.
Unity. All these things.
All these things are there. It's a republic. And that's what we must get.
Keep the republic
Yes.
as we get it done.
Yes.
Oh, I said you don't need luck, so I wouldn't say all the best. Mine is to encourage you to go out there and get it done.
Yes.
And if it's according to God's will, it will be done.
God's will is there. We just have to align ourselves
to His will.
Yeah. You know, people say that if God is on our side. No. It is us to be on the side of God.
Yes.
Yeah. We are the weaker beings.
We are.
Let us align ourselves with God.
Things
will be okay.
Oh, thank you so much. Guys, honestly, I don't feel like ending this conversation. But, you know, here we don't say, oh, we have a time limit. It's what flows, flows. And I hope you've really enjoyed the conversation today. A lot of take-homes, a lot of lesson, a lot of learning, a lot of relearning, a lot of unlearning. Guys, I've really loved having these conversations. This year has been, we can't say it's been the perfect year, but it's been the year that we've learned a lot. So let me know what your thoughts are on the comment section. Connect with our guest on his social media platforms. They'll be here on the screen. And please, please, please don't forget to tell me on the comment section what that take home has been for you and who else you would love to see on this platform. I have kept my promise, guys. He's here and I hope we did a good job when it comes to just having him on the platform. If you don't feel like you can share something on the comment section, info@lnn.digital, that's where we are. Feel free to send us an email and we will be able to access that too. Thank you to the team that gets to put this work together. We appreciate you, and to you guys for being active participants of our work. See you maybe tomorrow at 7 p.m. Bye-bye.